Okay, it's July 26th, 2012. It was suggested to me by a friend that kind of chronicle what had happened to me this month on video. It might make it a little easier for a lot of my friends and family that live far away that don't know what happened to find out what happened without me having to tell the same story over and over and over and over again. July 9th, it was a Monday, I'd rode my motorcycle into work. It had rained off and on all day. 5 o'clock came around, shut the shop down, started heading home. Everything was pretty normal. It was a nice day. It had rained right before I left, so the roads were a little wet. And I was getting close to home. There was a truck behind me who kept riding a little too close to me, so I would speed up a little bit to get away from him. It's annoying when they do that to you on a motorcycle. And I got to a curve that's approximately 4 miles from the front door of my house. And I've been through this curve in almost any kind of situation you can think of. Wind, rain, of course no snow. But I've done it 100 million times before, it seems like, in the last 5 years. And when I got into this curve this time, though, the roads were slightly wet, the worst conditions, for a motorcycle to be in. And evidently I hit a slick spot in the road. My back tire started coming out from behind me. So I did what I thought I was supposed to do, what I've learned to do. I downshifted, made sure I wasn't on the brake. Bike was starting to go down. As I downshifted, I powered up the throttle, and the bike was slowly starting to pick itself back up. But it was a little too late. The back tire hit the grass, which was extremely wet from the rain. And then the whole bike slid out from underneath me, and it slammed from side to side and bucked me off. The bike slid down a steep incline into the ditch, and I was kind of hurtling through the air. And they have the little signs that tell you that the curve, to turn this way. And my body flew into one of those signs. Took the whole sign up out of the ground, and I remember spinning in the air and watching the sign fly over the top of me. I could see it fly over the top of me. And then I hit the ground, and I slid down the ditch. And I remember the whole thing, in my head. I can picture the whole thing like a movie. Yeah, it just replays over and over and over. It's pretty haunting. It sucks. But finally stopped, sliding and crashing and stuff, and was laying in the ditch. And then luckily enough, the truck that was behind me, they stopped, and they were getting out, and I can hear them yelling, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I couldn't talk, I couldn't breathe. I was just gasping for air. And I remember wiggling my fingers and trying to wiggle my toes. I was thinking, okay, well, I'm not paralyzed or anything, maybe. I'm okay. And I remember trying to sit up, and I just didn't have the power to do it. I couldn't do it. I couldn't breathe. I had a full face mask helmet on, and it was making me feel real claustrophobic. And I remember trying to pick up my right arm to get myself up, and I saw my shoulder move, but the lower part of my forearm didn't move. So then I tried to pick my hand up, and I saw my hand move, and my shoulder didn't move. So I knew something was wrong right away with that. I begged for them to open up the face mask shield so I could breathe a little better, or I thought I would be able to. It didn't really help. What had happened is when I got bucked off the motorcycle, I went sideways into that sign, and what had happened is my elbow had smashed into the sign, and then the sign had smashed into my ribs on my right side, completely shattering everything on that side, on the right side. So that was all pretty tore up, and I remember begging them to get me up, let me stand up. I was in an ant pile, and by this time deputies were there even, and the deputies were like, "Yeah, he's in the ants. Let's go ahead and try to move him," because they could see I could move my hands and my legs and everything and my neck. You know, they could tell there was no serious spinal cord injury or anything like that. So they got me up. They helped me up the hill, and I remember they were walking me to the back of a truck, to a tailgate, so I could sit down. And at this point, blood starts pouring out of my jacket, my right jacket sleeve, and they're wanting to get my jacket off so they can see. You know, the paramedics are there now. They're wanting to get my jacket off, and all I remember is digging in my left pocket and pulling out a cigarette and sitting down and lighting up a cigarette, and then asking somebody to dig in my right pocket for my cell phone. And I called my mom. And I called my mom and I told her that I went down on my motorcycle and that I was going to need a ride to the emergency room because I didn't want to take the ambulance ride there because it would be too expensive. And I'm in a lot of pain. That's all I know at this point. Talked to the deputies. The paramedics kind of bandaged me up a little bit, trying to stop the bleeding. It was real bad though. Couldn't really stop it. Went to the ER. Well, got in the truck with my mom, went to the ER. And I sat in the hallway there. After about 15-20 minutes, my mom was like, you know, telling them that I was in a serious motorcycle accident and I'm bleeding all over the floor and whatever. They finally come out and noticed that, you know, I was not in too good a shape. So they brought me back up to the office area, and they're asking me all the same questions. What's your name? How tall are you? What's your weight? Your date of birth? And I finally just went ballistic and told them, man, just help me. I'm bleeding. I'm hurting. I can't breathe. Help me. So they bring me back into a room, and they start shooting x-rays. And they're taking my pants off, and they're cutting my shirt off, and they're doing this and that. But they've given me no pain medicine, and they've given me no kind of inkling of what's wrong with me or whatever. They're just like, well, his arm's broken, that's for sure. It's okay, didn't take a genius to figure that one out. Finally, I went ballistic in the ER and told them that they better do something now. It was a lot of foul language thrown around, though, actually. I cussed out every doctor and nurse in the room, and I guess that's when they realized that they weren't quite prepared to handle my situation. So they called up USA in Mobile, and they wanted to send me over there by ambulance. So they patched up my arm and got it to stop bleeding as best as possible. They stuck an IV in me. They finally gave me a pain shot. I don't know what it was. Something to relieve the pain a little bit. And I took that hour-long ride in the ambulance to USA. And I got to their ER. And that's when things were kind of a little fuzzy. I remember a lot of x-rays. I remember a lot of people telling me everything was going to be fine. I was going to be alright. But I remember while they were telling me that, the look on their faces didn't say that it was going to be fine. It wasn't going to be alright. And I finally got out of the ER and in the ICU, and pretty much Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday were a blur. I remember bits and pieces, but it seemed like every day they were coming and telling me something new that they had found broken. When it was all finally figured out, it came down to 2 broken scapula. The right clavicle was broken. I had totally smashed both bones in my forearm connecting to my elbow, which was going to need total reconstructive surgery. I'd broken pretty much every rib on the right side. I'd broken some ribs on the left. Both my lungs had been punctured. The right lung filled with blood. The left lung filled with air where there's not supposed to be air. I had a bruised liver and a bunch of muscle problems in my back. And by this point, though, they had given me enough pain medicine to where I was kind of okay. And they had me on a morphine drip with a little button, my own disposal. I ended up with 3 tubes in my chest, 2 on the right side, 1 on the left. I had the oxygen thing in my nose, a feeding tube down my nose. I had IVs all over, catheter, lots of stuff. By Wednesday or Wednesday, I was still having problems breathing, and they had to put me under to put the tube in my chest. And I woke up with a tube in my throat, and I remember that being just like the most depressing thing ever. I hated it. I did not like the tube down the throat, but it helped me breathe, helped me live, so I was happy about that in the long run. I spent almost 2 weeks in ICU, and I got my own room. And all the nurses in the ICU were really nice to me. They were really great. They took good care of me. Tell some more stories about that later on, but that's pretty much the gist of what had happened. What had happened was, so this is part 1 of the story of the accident. That was just to let you know what's happening, what had happened, and I'll come back in a little bit later on if you want me to, and I'll tell you some more stories about the ICU unit. I've got a few that were kind of funny, if it call it funny, but I'm here now. I'm alive, and I've got a lot of great friends and family that have supported me, and I thank them all.